Hello, everybody. On behalf of the CVRD, we welcome you today to this online information session about the proposed new septic regulatory program. With this recorded session, we'll be sharing information about a new regulatory program that the Comox Valley Regional District is looking to implement within electoral areas A, B, and C. Implementing this program will help reduce the impacts of sewage contamination in the Comox Valley environment. My name is Colleen Dane, and I'm here today to help facilitate this webinar. Our goal with it is to provide you with an overview of the proposed regulatory program and information about next steps and the path forward that you can review at a time that's convenient for you. We have two presenters today, Derry Monty, the Manager of Liquid Waste Planning, and Vince Van Tongeren, the Environmental Analyst with the CVRD, will be presenting, and they are best able to explain the proposed program and the plan ahead. So with that, let's go ahead and get rolling. We thank you again for participating by watching this session, and I'm going to hand the mic over now to Derry. Derry, over to you.
Thank you, Colleen. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As Colleen said, my name is Derry Monteith, and I'm the Manager of Liquid Waste Planning at the CVRD. Today, we're here to provide information on the CVRD's proposed septic regulatory program. The presentation will be about 30 minutes and is meant to provide tips on how to properly maintain your septic system, as well as share details on what the proposed program would look like for residents and the timeline for implementation. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that we are hosting this presentation today from the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of this land. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch our presentation today. Please don't hesitate to share any feedback or questions you have with the project team by visiting engagecomoxvalley.ca/septic regulations. I'm now going to pass the presentation over to Vince, who will start with an overview of septic system functions and care.
Right. Thank you, Derry. Let's start with the basics, how septic systems work. In the CVRD's electoral areas, homes may have a Type 1, 2, or 3 septic system. Type 1 systems include a septic tank, use an anaerobic process, and have the lowest level of effluent treatment. Type 2 systems have a package treatment plant with an aerobic process and have a medium level of effluent treatment. Type 3 systems have a package treatment plant with an aerobic process, disinfection, and they have the highest level of effluent treatment. In general, wastewater in a Type 1 system follows this path. Step 1, wastewater drains through a pipe from the home into the septic tank. At step 2, the septic tank then holds the wastewater long enough for solids to settle at the bottom and oil and grease to float to the top. At step 3, the natural bacteria in the tank will start to break down the solids. However, these solids eventually build up and must be pumped out. At step 4, you can see that the partially treated wastewater from the septic tank is evenly distributed into a network of pipes that are part of the drain field. At step 5, this wastewater then begins to percolate into the soil through small holes in the pipes. At step 6, the natural filtration and microorganisms in the soil will remove any remaining harmful particles in the wastewater before step 7, where the cleansed and treated wastewater passes into the groundwater and returns to the water cycle. Type 2 and 3 systems would operate in a similar fashion with a package treatment plant in place of the septic tank. Now that we've looked at the function of a septic system, let's take a quick look at some tips to properly take care of it. This slide includes a list of key ways to best care for your septic system. While some of these suggestions may seem simple or obvious, they are important factors in maintaining a healthy, properly functioning septic system. Now, you might be wondering why understanding your septic system functions and the best way to maintain it are important. Well, there are a number of reasons. To keep your family and neighbors healthy, to protect the environment and your drinking water, to protect your property value, to prolong the life of your system and save you money, and lastly, because it's the law. Under the sewage system regulation, it is the property owner's responsibility to ensure their septic system does not cause a health hazard. Let's take a closer look at current septic system regulations. Did you know that there are approximately 9,000 septic systems currently in use in the CVRD electoral areas A, B, and C? All of these septic systems are regulated under the Provincial Sewerage System Regulation. This regulation outlines that property owners are responsible for all septic system maintenance and system operation to ensure that their septic systems do not cause a health or environmental hazard. Ultimately, this regulation places the responsibility for proper septic system operation and maintenance with property owners. That said, this regulation does not include any follow-up measures to ensure systems are being maintained properly. The CVRD is taking steps towards introducing a new septic regulatory program within the electoral areas to help with this. This program would provide the CVRD a new role to oversee septic systems and help ensure that they are maintained in accordance with provincial requirements. The proposed regulatory program would help raise awareness of the responsibilities of property owners and provide an additional layer of oversight to encourage property owners to maintain their systems. The proposed program is needed for a number of reasons, including aging systems. Many septic systems in the electoral areas are more than 25 years old. Older, poorly functioning systems can pose an environmental and public health risk. Environmental protection. Required maintenance would help prevent impacts of sewage contamination within sensitive aquifers and aquatic and marine habitats in the Comox Valley. High dwelling density. Many electoral area neighborhoods were established prior to the introduction of provincial septic regulations and include concentrations of homes considerably higher than what would be permitted under current standards. I will now hand the presentation back to Derry, who will expand on the proposed septic regulatory program.
Thank you, Vince. So now, what would this program actually look like for electoral area property owners? The CVRD is recommending mandatory pump outs in all electoral areas and an inspection-based program for higher risk areas. It would require all pump outs, maintenance, and inspections to be coordinated and arranged by the individual property owners. In regards to enforcement, the CVRD is currently reviewing what this could look like. Similar to other CVRD bylaws, it could be that persistently non-compliant property owners could be subject to fines or other penalties. The program startup is currently planned for 2026, and if all approvals and successful completion of an electoral assent process in 2025 is achieved. So let's look at what this would mean for individual property owners. The requirements have been outlined in the table here based on area and system type. As you can see, all electoral area properties with a type 1 system will require periodic pump outs. Type 2 or 3 systems would be required to complete annual maintenance in accordance with their maintenance plan. For clarification, all septic system owners with a system newer than 20 years old should be in possession of a maintenance plan. This plan is what's included with the septic system records that are filed with Island Health by the authorized person who designed the system. It includes a schedule for maintenance and monitoring, including recommended maintenance tasks. For those property owners located in high-risk areas, an inspection approximately every 10 years would be an added requirement for all system types. The frequency of inspection will be reviewed together with industry representatives during program development. Next slide. A CVRD study was commissioned in 2020 to provide an assessment of risks associated with septic systems in the electoral areas. This study identified 7 neighborhoods as high-risk areas. These include Robinson Lake, Saratoga Beach, Bates Beach, Royston, Gartley, and Kilmarnock, Union Bay, Ships Point, and some Hornby Island neighborhoods. I will note, however, that while Royston and Union Bay neighborhoods are listed here, they would be exempt from the program if sewer servicing proceeds there as planned. These areas were identified in the study due to a number of risk factors, including higher residential lot density, with many lots considerably smaller than permitted under current standards, drinking water provided by private wells, proximity to sensitive environmental features, for example, Bain Sound or some freshwater habitats, evidence of groundwater contamination from a prior study, and a high consequence of failure for public and/or environmental health. A review of high-risk areas is proposed to be undertaken during program development, and under the new regulatory program, high-risk areas would see added inspection requirements. On the next slide, we'll look at estimated costs for homeowners if the program proceeds. So the estimated costs of the proposed program are not anticipated to be significant for homeowners who are already maintaining their system according to provincial regulations. For property owners, this program could see two types of cost increases. First, a minimal property tax increase for program administration, and second, septic maintenance expenses. Some property owners may see increased septic maintenance expenses as an outcome of complying with regulatory program requirements. The new proposed program has an estimated annual budget of between $100,000 and $200,000, which would result in a modest annual property tax increase for electoral area households. In terms of septic maintenance expenses, these would vary depending on system type and where your property is located. We understand that increased costs for residents can be challenging, and we're working to ensure they would be minimal. Further details on program costs will be available prior to the 2025 electoral assent process. So next steps are obtaining BC Cabinet approval this year and successful completion of an electoral approval process in 2025. Following consideration by the Electoral Area Services Committee later this spring, an order in council request will be submitted to the province in summer 2024. An order in council request is a special request to the province to amend the current CVRD regulation. The CVRD requires additional authority from the province to impose requirements prior to establishing a septic regulatory program. Next, in fall of 2024, should provincial approval be granted, the electoral area directors will confirm direction for either a referendum or alternate approval process to establish the program. This elector approval process would then take place in 2025, and program startup is expected in 2026. We know this is a complicated program, but one that will help protect the health and safety of our residents and the environment. And we appreciate your understanding as we take steps to move this program forward. So thank you very much for your time today. And with that, I will pass it back to Colleen, who will close out this session.
Great. Thank you, Derry and Vince, for that overview. It's really helpful. And we hope that that covers the key information for you who are joining us today, and hope that it's given you a good understanding of the proposed program and the steps ahead. So before we wrap up, I'm just going to post one more slide about how people can learn more. If you have questions or want to revisit any of the information we've covered today, please visit the CVRD's website at the comoxvalley.rd.ca/septic regulation. There's also a page at the CVRD's online engagement platform about this program. You can find that at engagecomoxvalley.ca/septic regulation. This engagement hub is a really great place for you to follow along as this moves forward. You can sign up to subscribe to the project and get notifications when there's new updates posted. And you can also post questions there that will be responded to by the project team and then are available for others to see as well. Of course, you can always phone and email to the contacts here as well if you'd like to talk to somebody directly. Finally, we encourage you to share this information or these links with neighbors or friends or family who you think would be interested as well, so that they also can learn more about this proposed program. So with that, we thank you again very much for your time, and we wish you a very good rest of your day. Thank you.